facts, I'm known to keep it real. I ain't worried about your feelings when I'm in the field. They be watching what I do from my highlight reel. I'm just running to the paper, fuck how you feel. If you looking for the truth, then I'm the real deal. If you looking for the truth, then I'm the real deal. Shout out to the crew and they get real, real. I'm in with the crew, nigga, real.
What's going on? Welcome to the Real Deal Podcast. I'm Bruce and Travis. Say what up.
What's going on, guys?
Kevin isn't with us today, but he will be on the next one. Unfortunately, there's things that happen. Like I haven't been here some Fridays, and Kevin ain't here this Friday. Anyway, so we're here. We had Thursday night football last night. Chiefs versus Broncos.
Yeah.
And I think things kind of went how people thought it kind of would go, but not really in a sense. But how'd you feel about that game, Trav?
Yeah, low scoring, kind of a bit of a drag to watch as a football fan, especially from fantasy implications. But our boy Travis Kelce went crazy. 21.40 fantasy points, caught all 9 of his targets for 124 yards. Didn't get the touchdown, but it didn't matter. He still had an elite performance, his second best game of the season against the Denver Broncos. Patrick Mahomes, 17.34 fantasy points, threw for 306 yards, but did have the interception. I don't know. That game was just a bit of a drag. I thought if any team could go nuclear against the Denver Broncos, it'd be the Kansas City Chiefs, based off of what Justin Fields did, based off of what Miami did. But it is what it is. Denver put up a fight. They looked respectable. Really, the defense looked respectable. You can't really say the same for the offense. Russell Wilson only throwing for 95 yards the entire game. That's no bueno. So, yeah, really just – well, Cortland Sutton had the nice one-handed touchdown grab. That's something that we should highlight. He got 14.60 fantasy points in that one. But other than that, really just a drag of a game.
Yeah, I met Russell Wilson last night. It was a trash can.
Oh,
walked
nice.
right past him. No, I mean, Broncos are just terrible. I really have I don't know. I have a discontent thing with them. I guess it's with everything that happened with Daniel Hackett, right?
Nathaniel, yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett. I think that whole Jets thing kind of threw me off with him. But regardless of that, we're not here for how we feel. We're here for the fantasy aspect of it. And I mean, I was happy to see certain things going on with this Chiefs offense. As far as Pacheco is actually, they got a solid running back in Pacheco, 15.80. So he did surpass his projections, but it's good to see, he 6 targets. He brought all 6 in, 36 yards. He rushed for 62 yards. I mean, I don't think the Chiefs are a team where they're run heavy, obviously, because when you got somebody like Mahomes, you're not going to be a run heavy. But to see the run work, and if I was the owner of Pacheco, I'd be happy to get those 15 points from him, because it shows a little promise as far as your draft pick for him. On the flip side, it's just Mahomes was 30 for 40. 306 yards, 6 rushing attempts for 31 yards, only 1 touchdown. So you got 17 points, and it was funny because we were talking about it in the chat this morning. Everybody's like, "What's going on here?" And it's he ain't get the TDs, dude. The TDs aren't there. You got you 1 TD, you would have got the projected points. I'm pretty sure, but Mahomes is playing like Mahomes. He's just not finding the end zone, and that's why you drafted him. So it hurts in a sense that's not going for him right now. But I mean, a 17-point game is an average game for an average quarterback, so you can't just be too down on that. But Kelce did get the love: 9 targets, 9 receptions, 124 yards. Again, this is what we expect from this offense. So, but it was good to see people getting involved. Seeing Rashee Rice is definitely a step in the right direction as far as for the Chiefs passing game, that they need that one guy that's reliable, So 4 targets, 4 receptions, 72 yards. Can't be mad at that. You know, that we need somebody to be the face of this offense as far as the wide receiver core, right? Because you don't know who to pick. You draft Chiefs thinking you're going to have points, and you don't get him. I mean, he only had 11 points, but he surpassed his projection. So if you're Rashid Rice, if you picked him up this week to play him in the flex, you got to be happy with that.
Yeah, 11 points is good for your flex, especially from a player that you're not really expecting much from anyway. As for Mahomes, he'll have his opportunities to get right and get more touchdowns for you throughout the season. He gets the Chargers next week, and then he gets Denver again, even though that one's going to be at Denver. But I'm pretty sure after, we can be honest, a piss poor performance as far as them executing as an offense, they'll probably want to get it back against Denver in week 8. And then they get Miami. So a 3-game stretch of some pretty soft secondaries, weak defenses that they can look to get back on track for. Now, on the back to the running back side of things, Isaiah Pacheco here, he's through 6 games, got 17 receptions. All of last year combined, he only had 13. So he's already surpassed his pass catching usage from 2022 here in 2023. So that's a huge, huge bonus for Isaiah Pacheco, who's already an efficient runner. I mean, everybody jokes, makes memes about how he runs like he's literally pissed off at the ground, the way he just keeps turning his feet. But 15.8 is very good from Pacheco. I think he's going to continue to have a stellar season. On the flip side, there's not really much to talk about with Denver. We will mention the kickers, I guess, because they are a part of fantasy still in some leagues. Harrison Butker got 17 points, and then the Kansas City Chiefs defense got 15. So anytime a defense can outperform Cortland Sutton and every wide receiver for the Chiefs and even every running back for the Broncos, you got to mention it a little bit. So not much to really talk about in this one other than Travis Kelce is still Travis Kelce, and the Broncos are just inefficient and not good for fantasy right now.
No, something that I want to point out. How do you feel? How would you feel? Is there concern here with the Javonte Williams, McLaughlin situations? Because it looks like they kind of split carries. I want to say McLaughlin might be the better back here, but just by number wise, but even just how he runs the ball, but it's not who we drafted, right? Like, we picked him up. So I don't know how you feel if you're a Javonte Williams owner.
Well, for me right now, I think it's clear that we can, if you have Samaje Perine, you can drop him. It's safe to drop Samaje at this point. He's completely kind of been phased out of this running back room of this offense. He did have 2 catches for 16 yards, but he also fumbled. You have 2 backs that are just clearly more explosive and better than Samaje Perine. So if you're still rostering him, no need to do it. Now, when we dissect Javonte and Jaleel McLaughlin, the interesting thing is Jaleel also had 2 catches for 12 yards. Javonte did not see any targets as a pass catcher, and that's a skill that he does have. And he even said throughout the offseason, he was watching New Orleans Saints film with the expectation that he was going to be used similarly to how Alvin Kamara was used by Sean Payton. But it feels like if anybody has a chance at that now, it might be Jaleel McLaughlin, who's just got so much juice. He's not coming off of a major knee surgery like Javonte Williams is. And he's starting to gain some favor in that coaching staff. And it also helps that Denver is going to be playing from behind a lot. So that helps Jaleel also. But do I think one of these running backs is startable right now? I don't, because the way they're split up is just, it's too 50-50, and it's not a good offense. It just feels like you're splitting hairs in one of the worst offenses in football, when if you can, you should just probably be trying to rid yourself of these players in redraft formations at least.
Yep. Yeah, because that's how I played it, right? He kind of started in my lineup, but as the injury reports came out and I saw other people were healthy, he just slowly got phased out of my lineup because he's just not a sure thing, especially with Javonte Williams coming in. So I just slowly phased him out. But am I hoping I can use him later in the season? Yeah, for sure. I just want to see, they got some favorable matchups coming in towards the end of the season. So that's where I'm hoping I could kind of plug him in. Hopefully, if I make playoffs, because struggling in the real deal league right now, but that happens.
You're struggling. I'd take your spot any day, man.
And with that said, there wasn't much more going on with this game, man. Sean Payton just looks like he looked stressed out yesterday when they showed him on the sidelines. Like at the end of the game, he looked a little stressed out. Well, with that said, there's really not much more with this game. Something that I did want to point out is because it's gonna segue us into our injury report. Any news on that Kelsey? He was limping a little bit yesterday.
Kelsey, everything looks all good with him right now. It's looking like the low ankle sprain is behind him. Doesn't look like anything major at this point. I will say this much. Everything seems fine with Travis Kelsey, but for the rest of the league, it does not. Right now, we've got a lot going on. When we look across the league at injuries, a new one that popped up was our boy Sam Laporta, probably the hottest tight end in the league right now, not named Travis Kelsey. He practiced in full on Wednesday and then became a DNP on Thursday with a calf injury. He was doing walkthroughs as of Friday morning, but like our boy Kyle said, who will join the show later, you're telling me he can walk? Good. Like, I would hope so, right? So keep an eye on Sam Laporta right now. Our boy Saquon Barkley, a Sunday night matchup against the Buffalo Bills. He's been limited for 8 straight practices with that high ankle sprain now. And it's a tricky situation because he does play Sunday night. If you own him, even though you haven't gotten anything from Matt Breida, just keep him on your roster in case you need that last second plug and play guy. You never know. Maybe Breida gets a garbage time touchdown, whatever. But we're watching Saquon Barkley very closely. Jordan Addison, another one dealing with an ankle injury. This one just kind of popped up out of the blue on Wednesday, but he has been practicing in a limited capacity. And the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, did not sound worried. So I think Jordan Addison is going to be okay to play on Sunday. Deshaun Watson there was a report that just came out. I know for sure he was doubtful. And now, as of 10 minutes ago, Brown's beat reporter is saying he is officially out and PJ Walker will get the start on Sunday. So take Deshaun out of your lineups, even though all week you kind of had the feeling that he wasn't going to play. And the report came out yesterday that it was looking unlikely. Now it's officially official. Devontae Adams still dealing with that shoulder sprain, the AC joint sprain. He continues to practice in a limited capacity. It hasn't stopped him from playing yet. I don't think it's going to stop him from playing at all. So fire up Devontae Adams and feel good about it. Mike Evans making his return from a hammy. He practiced in a limited capacity on Thursday, and I believe he's practicing limited today as the reports are flowing in. As we do this, I'll try to be as up to date as possible with them. Khalil Herbert, doubtful with that ankle injury, the high ankle sprain that we saw on the errant Justin Fields throw. He's looking doubtful, and Roschon Johnson still hasn't been cleared from his concussion as well. So it may be a Deontay Foreman type of week there in Chicago. Tony Pollard popped up on the injury report with a shoulder injury. He's been practicing in a limited capacity. I don't think it's much to worry about. Tony Pollard is Tony Pollard. He's going to try to find a way to get out on that field. He plays, you start him. It's as simple as that. T. Higgins, rib injury. He's coming back from it. He says it's looking promising. His words, it's looking promising that he plays this Sunday. So if you have T. Higgins, I will say this, there is a huge production hit rate with rib injuries for wide receivers that's been reported throughout Twitter. You know, these physical therapists and these doctors that comment on previous rib injuries and how it affects wide receivers. So you're starting T. Higgins if you have him because of where you drafted him, but just be mindful that this is a player that's not at 100%, and it is going to hurt him a little bit when he has to reach out for these passes and take these hits to the midsection. DK Metcalf also dealing with ribs. He has not practiced yet this week. We're going to keep an eye on if he practices today and probably update you on Twitter about that. Traylon Burks' knee injury is officially out on Sunday. That's a morning game, 9:30. So make sure you have him out your lineup as soon as possible. Cole Kmet popped up on the injury report with a hamstring injury. He's practicing in a limited capacity, but we'll keep an eye on that because Cole Kmet has actually become a viable starting option at the tight end position. Our boy Jahmyr Gibbs off to a slow start this season. Now it gets even more derailed with this hamstring injury. He is listed as doubtful for this game on Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Daniel Jones officially ruled out as of 20 minutes ago by Brian Dable. It's looking like a Tyrod Taylor kind of game against Buffalo on Sunday night. The Giants just cannot catch a break with injuries. So downgrade every wide receiver of the Giants if you're streaming one for whatever reason because you have injuries of your own. Just don't even deal with it. Find another option. Darren Waller obviously takes a little bit of a hit as well, or maybe not. We'll see if Tyrod can get him the ball more than Daniel Jones can. Miles Sanders has not practiced this week with a shoulder injury. Chuba Hubbard is someone that is looking like he's going to get the start. I'm not sure how effective he'll be in a game that's probably going to get out of hand early against Miami, but if you have Miles Sanders and handcuffed him with Chuba, the least you can do is throw him in there and see what happens. Darren Waller, he'll have a cube on his name throughout the rest of the year. Most likely he's dealing with the groin still. He's practicing in a limited capacity. And our boy Tank Dell is in concussion protocol, hasn't cleared it yet, so he's not practicing. So the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud might be without our boy Tank.
That's what's up. You said downgrade. You said downgrade the Giants wide receivers. They've been downgraded, brother.
They've been downgraded.
They've been
but
downgraded.
You never know. Wandale's been getting some love, so I picked up Wandale in the league and had to start him in the flex. That's no longer an option at this point with no Daniel Jones.
Listen, you want to start somebody? Start Tyrod Taylor as a running back. He's gonna be running for his life. But anyway, I'm over here bashing the Giants. That's somebody else's job. So let's bring him on now. We're gonna bring in Kyle. He's in a few leagues with us. He's in the Real Deal League. He's in our Dynasty League. And he loves fantasy. He's always into the fantasy deal. He's active in the chat. He's an active trader. Definitely making moves in Dynasty, in Travis's league. And let's bring him on in.
Kayo. What's going on, fam?
What's
up,
man?
Dude?
Happy Friday the 13th.
Yes, sir. Happy Friday the 13th.
Spooky things are happening around the league.
All the time.
So many injuries.
Let's not forget I'm in that best ball league too. It's probably my best team, and I didn't even draft it.
Some commitment issues. What's your team name? Commitment issues, right?
Oh man, I literally don't even pay attention to that one because I can't win for the life of me. I just cannot. I'm 0-5 in that league.
My team's just putting up 160 a week. I don't even do anything.
It's on autopilot, like for real.
Yep, for real.
Oh my god. So what's going on, Kyle? How'd you feel about Thursday's game?
If that's what you want to call it, it was borderline unwatchable, as most Broncos games are. Yeah. Honestly, I think the Chiefs' offense is just struggling. I mean, they had 41 against Chicago, but otherwise, I think that defense is the thing that's holding this team together right now. That's why they're 5-1. It's not because Mahomes and that offense is flying off the charts like they usually do. They got to find a wide receiver to step up and be the guy there. It's no one's taken that spot yet. Valdez-Scantling's just off the map. Rice looks like a good rookie. Tony's got all the skills in the world. He had a touchdown last night. So maybe he could start coming on here soon, but they need to find somebody else besides Kelsey.
Yeah. That's why, like we were talking about, and I was saying, like, I like the fact that they're using Rashid Rice, and I like the fact that they're kind of showing that they have a running identity now. But yeah, like that's to bring back the point, like the offense isn't clicking because Mahomes. This wasn't a Mahomes type fantasy production. Like it's just not. Like we don't expect this from Mahomes. So for him not to find the end zone was tough. It's just rough as a fantasy owner because if say Matthew Stafford, I started Matthew Stafford. If Matthew Stafford gives me 17 points this week, I'm happy.
Yeah,
right? But
exactly.
not from Mahomes, dude. Like just not from Mahomes.
Yeah, you expect more from him, and they lost Bieniemy, right? So maybe that's playing a big role here early in the season. They're still trying to figure things out. We'll see where it goes. Still, probably the top team in the AFC, unless you consider the Dolphins the top team. They did get beat by the Bills, but they look pretty unstoppable on offense otherwise. So,
all right. Yeah. Listen, Kyle, we really brought you on here for one reason, because you are the trading guy. You're the trading god right now.
I've been pretty active.
Yeah. You're one of the most active guys I've seen in, I think, all the leagues, maybe, or just in general. You're always trying to put something together. So I kind of wanted to just bring it straight on over to the buy and sell segment. I want to see what how does Kyle's brain work?
Let's do it. It's trade season.
Yeah, trading season. So let's start off with our buys. I don't know who wants to take it, Kyle. You're the guest.
Yeah, I'll start. My buy this week is CeeDee Lamb. I think the Cowboys are probably at their low point early in the season after getting embarrassed by the Niners. Yeah. CeeDee Lamb has 3 straight games with just 4 receptions, so his value is going down every week. He's got a get-right game on Monday night against the Chargers. They're a top 2 matchup for wide receivers. I think this game has shootout potential. And taking a look at Lamb's, matchups down the stretch, weeks 12 through 16, 4 out of those 5 games are versus top 10 wide receiver matchups. 3 of those 5 are top 5 matchups. So he could definitely help you down the stretch. If you can find a way to get a hold of CeeDee Lamb, I think his value is bottomed right now before he explodes on Monday night, and it's going to be tougher to get after this week.
Yeah, I agree with CeeDee Lamb. I mean, he's someone I'm waiting for the breakout. I got him in the Real Deal League where I'm 0-5. And it's because he hasn't exploded the way that we know CeeDee Lamb can. And it's really not his fault. You can't blame the wide receiver. That offense in general just isn't clicking right now. But CeeDee Lamb this year has 4 games. He's played in 5. He's got 1 game with 11 receptions. Every other game, 4 receptions. 4 against the Giants, 4 against the Cardinals, 4 against the Patriots, 4 against the Niners. We know that his volume is going to kick up a bit. And like you said, there's a perfect opportunity for that against the Los Angeles Chargers. And then the rest of the schedule is pretty sweet too, like you mentioned. So CeeDee Lamb being a buy candidate, I'm all for it. I'm actively trying to trade him because I know realistically he's a good buy candidate right now. And I'm 0-5 and I need as much as I can get. But CeeDee Lamb, absolutely somebody that if he's available in your league and there's a frustrated CeeDee Lamb owner, you need to go after him.
Yeah, I'm sorry. For me as an ex CeeDee Lamb owner, it's frustrating to see it because this is one of I liked having him. I liked owning him. So to see him having the season that he's having, to see the whole little Jerry Jones drama is crazy too, because you just lit a fire under this guy. And if Dak is smart, he's gonna get him the ball, bro. He's open. He's open. Maybe he needs to go the chase route and just be like, I'm always open.
So Jerry said that they need to get the ball to the tight end more. I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
Let's actively go out of our way to get Jake Ferguson and Luke Schoonmaker involved. No, man. You've got one of the best wide receivers in football. He's a wide receiver 1, despite what people like Richard Sherman are saying that he's not a wide receiver 1. CeeDee definitely is a wide receiver 1, and he needs more than 5 targets, more than 6 targets in these games, more than 4 against the Giants, only 4 targets. Some of that is just unacceptable from the coaching staff, from Brian Schottenheimer, the offensive coordinator. You need to get this guy at minimum 8 targets a game because he's much of a difference maker.
To be fair, against the Giants, they just got rolled over, right? The Giants.
Well, yeah, they didn't need CeeDee Lamb. They really didn't need anybody on offense. That's correct.
But for me, it's he's got 13 targets. The Jets, right? Jets defense is good defense.
Yeah, and
he had 25 points that game. So it's how are you not getting him the ball on these other teams? Now, is there an issue with the rush with the front 4 that we don't know about? That maybe they're having troubles on the line, but at that point, you get CeeDee involved in the slot. I don't know. It's just a lot. I hate to see these good wide receivers get shorted, man. I just hate it. It's your guy for a reason.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a get-right game. My only concern is that loss to the Cardinals that was one of his 4 reception games. You would imagine we can blame game script all you want to, but what happened there,
Yeah. No,
I mean, if anything, game script was in favor of CeeDee getting more work, right? Because they were trailing in this one.
Right,
so
exactly.
It doesn't make sense to me why the usage from CeeDee is so low through the first 5 weeks, but hopefully he can get it right.
Use that advantage and go buy this guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There you go. That's the point of the segment, right? Why do we want to buy him? Because he hasn't exploded the way we know he can. This is probably the lowest his value is going to be. Like Kyle said, go get CeeDee Lamb. That being said, Kyle, who is it that you're selling? Who is it that you actively want off of your hands right now in fantasy football leagues?
My sell this week is Garrett Wilson, and I know he's probably been a sell all year. This is my last chance to sell Garrett Wilson and get something for him. There's a little bit of hope that they still make a move at quarterback. I personally don't think that's going to happen. He's still got wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 value in most leagues where you have to start 3 receivers and have a flex or whatever. He's still a guy, like, if you just lost Justin Jefferson, you can dangle that sexy name in front of that team and be like, hey, Garrett Wilson's right over here. I got to fill in for you. You could probably pick up a top 10 tight end if you're struggling in that position for Garrett Wilson. You could probably grab an RB2 maybe if somebody has some deepness at RB2 and they have a need at a wide receiver. He's got a good matchup this week. On paper, Philadelphia's given up top 3 numbers to wide receivers. So that's another little piece of hope that you can dangle in somebody in front of their face. Like, yo, he's got a good matchup this week. You need help. I got to fill in for you, because if he doesn't do well in a good matchup on paper this week, his value is just going to get much worse. So I think it's the last chance to sell Garrett Wilson and get something for him.
Yep. And I'm going to have to jump in because I have him as a buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like right now, Garrett Wilson is in a possible buy low, sell high situation, right? Where you could find a desperation team that's just looking to get something back. They're trying to get somebody that's putting up some type of points, and they've lost complete faith in the Jets offense. So I feel like you might be able to get away with that, but in the flip side of that, you might be able to sell him high because you could use his matchups to your advantage. Be like, look, man, that then he got some good matchups on the later half of the year. This is the time to get them. They're about to go on bye. They got the Giants right after that, the Chargers. So right now he's in this spot where it's like you could buy low or you could sell high. It depends on how you want to play it and how teams are looking, because a lot of teams, and no shot at Travis, but there's but this past week we were watching and we listening, and there's a lot of teams that are not doing good. You drafted a lot of big names and things haven't been panning out the way they should. So some people are fire selling, and some people are just using certain things to their advantage. So I feel like this was a good, it was a perfect buy sell situation here with Garrett Wilson, because it depends on how you sell him, right? How you package him up, that it's going to help you get either better, or it's going to just let you unload him if you just lost all faith in him and possibly get something out of it.
Yeah, he's almost like a buy low, sell low guy right now. And the reason is the same. His matchup coming up against the Eagles, if he has a bad one, he almost becomes unsellable after that. If he has a good one and you just picked him up, makes you look really smart. So, it all comes down to what happens in this Eagles matchup. It's going to swing his value quite a bit.
Yeah, he's so we know I have him in the RDL league where I'm 0-5. I drafted him at the beginning of the second round because we knew Garrett Wilson attached to Aaron Rodgers had top 5 finish potential, right? That he doesn't get more than 4 plays with Aaron Rodgers, who goes down week 1. But he still has 14.40 in week 1 with Zach Wilson. At that point, I was actively trying to sell him because now I'm like, hey, look, he still had a decent game with Zach Wilson. Nobody wants him. Then he comes back against Dallas, gets 16.30. And now I'm really like, look, 8 targets. He only caught 2 of them, by the way, for 83 yards and a touchdown. But he's got the 16.30 points. He's getting targets. Let me trade him to you. Let's work a deal, blah, blah, blah. Because I didn't want this. I know that Garrett Wilson took a massive hit when Aaron Rodgers went down. So when that happened, I was actively trying to get him off of my hands. And this just feels like the time where you're selling him low, because what is the ceiling with Garrett Wilson right now? The highest point total he's had this year has been 16.30 against Dallas. Can he surpass that at some point this season? Yeah, sure, maybe. But it's going to be very likely that you're living with a bunch of 10-point games, 9-point games, 8-point games from him for the rest of the year. He's already got a 9.8 against New England and an 8.40 against Denver. And Denver was a matchup that we were looking at as a juicy one for him. Like maybe Zach Wilson, who's coming off his best game against the Chiefs, can get this thing going with Garrett Wilson, and he can provide some sort of high-end wide receiver 2 numbers. If you're stuck with Garrett Wilson right now, he feels like nothing more than a flex play. So you might as well try to trade him, get what you can for him. Maybe there's a running back out there with more upside than Garrett Wilson at the wide receiver position, but this is the time to sell Garrett Wilson, in my opinion, because you might not have another window. It could only stay this bad or get worse. I don't see it as likely that it gets better. So if you can get rid of Garrett Wilson, try to.
Yep. Last chance sell.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then for my sell, I'm taking Amari DeMarcado. There you go, Kyle. See, that was easy.
I don't know. You concentrated pretty hard on that.
Yeah, because you know what? I didn't know what kind of accent I wanted to put on it. But DeMarcado. There you go. Yeah, I even said it in Spanish.
Yeah.
So,
you.
No, I feel like you sell him, right? Because it's I feel like you could just dangle this one, right? Like I just feel like you could get more back for him. He had a 12-point game. And it's just like, yo, look, man, there's some upside to this guy right here. Like they had to put him in, and he's the guy. So I feel like you sell him high if you could. You try to get away with this one because no James Conner, right? James Conner's done, right?
He's on the IR, so he's out for the next 4 games.
And this guy could get, if he gets clicking, then he could be a possible, play for you going down the stretch of the season. So for me, this is one that you try to sell high if you could get away with it, or you just try to get something that you need. This is not something you expected. It's not something you drafted. Now, if you need it, if you really need it, that's one thing. But for me, I would take advantage of the sale and just get rid of them. Dump them off real quick.
So the biggest thing for me with Amari DeMarcado is you got him for nothing, right? You kind of just got him off the waiver wire, and now you have that ability to go to the James Conner owner and be like, hey, you've lost this guy for 4 weeks. I'll give you his backup who's going to get some snaps, who's going to get burned. Just, give me something that'll help me in return. You're not going to get a lot for Amari DeMarcado, but if you just lost James Conner and you were a 3-2 team or a 4-1 team and you just lost one of your starting running backs, more than likely your RB2, it might be something that you entertain. Like, hey, you know what? At least for these next 4 games, let me get the guy that's coming in, stepping up for James Conner. Now, on the flip side of that, getting rid of Amari DeMarcado, if you can, is a really good thing, in my opinion, because we still don't know how that backfield is going to play out. Because once Keontae Ingram comes back, who's listed as the starter on the depth chart, but that doesn't mean anything because we know the whole Bijan Robinson thing where he was listed as RB4 to begin in the preseason. Depth charts don't matter. It's what happens on Sundays. But we know that coming into the year, Keontae Ingram was viewed as the RB2 in Arizona. He was dealing with his own set of injuries, but he's expected to come back this week. So if you can get rid of Amari DeMarcado before that backfield kind of shakes out, then all power to you. But then there's the other side of it where this game goes down and Amari DeMarcado absolutely dominates the touches. Now you really have somebody that you can move. So I think it's an interesting name, especially for a guy that you got basically for free off the waiver wire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only reason I say sell. People that I feel like with all the injuries that's been going down, like at the end of it, people are looking for anything. There's some people that are just desperate and they're just looking for anything. You might be able to take advantage of that guy that doesn't know anything in the league. And I say that because I've probably been one of those when I first started in the Real Deal League. I'll be honest with you. I had zero knowledge of fantasy. So if I was hurting in the running back room, you probably would have got me with this trade right here. I'm just being honest. We all know. Hey, you let's be honest. You package a shit trade all the time.
Yeah, you try to.
You paint it pretty. You paint it pretty and hope somebody takes the bait. That's basically what you do. And then that's things that happen in fantasy. And this is, to me, one that you can paint pretty and see if somebody bites on it.
Yeah. Kyle, how you feeling about Amari DeMarcado?
I agree. I mean, on one hand, he might be a 4-week rental. So you probably won't get a whole lot for him just because of that. But how many times have you seen a backup come in and just explode and steal the job? At the very least, if he falls into this workhorse role while Connor's on the bench, he might find himself in a committee even when Connor comes back. So That's the side where you go pick him up and hope that something happens like that. Mm-hmm. And, it's bye week season. Trying to find a running back to fill in right now, especially with the injuries, is tough. So there's always, I guarantee you, in every league, there's one guy out there that can use DeMarcado on his team right now.
Yeah.
I'm that one guy where I'm facing a situation right now in the Real Deal League where my running backs coming into the year were Jahmyr Gibbs and J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins goes down. Now I'm playing guys like Tyler Algier and Roschon constantly at the RB2 spot. Now Jahmyr Gibbs is hurt with the hamstring. Roschon Johnson hasn't been cleared from concussion protocol. And they're quite literally the only two playable back. I'm going to have to throw Algier in there, but then I have nothing else after that. So I'm in a position where, because of how my roster is constructed, I may very well have to leave one of these dudes that is not playing in the lineup because everybody's injured. So I'm definitely somebody that could use Amari DeMarcado. Now, I don't know how much I'd be willing to give up for him, but beggars can't be choosers, right? If somebody came to me with Amari DeMarcado and was like, hey, you look like you could use a back at least for this week, I might bite depending on what it is. So definitely somebody that if you have them, you got them for nothing, try to sell them, see if you can help your team with an additional piece.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're struggling, kid. Don't worry about it. It's a lot of bad breaks this year on fantasy. I mean, some people are getting players back and some people are just losing players. It's
when you're in 8 leagues, you're bound to have one where fit hits the shan the whole way through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was waiting for Khalil Herbert to have some sort of breakout game and maybe dangle a running back in front of you. And guys got 7.6 yards to carry and sprains his ankle in that game. And I'm like, man, this was the game that he was going to have a big one.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he high ankle sprain, probably a 3-4 week thing from what we've seen from other running backs this year alone. And now I'm handicapped at running back. I got McCaffrey and K9, but I don't have the luxury of moving one of those guys.
Yeah, we've discussed the trade for CD. CD is his buy. Was his buy candidate. We were discussing a trade for CD Lamb that involved Kenneth Walker and a couple of other little moving parts, but the Khalil Herbert injury sidetracked that, and I completely understand it because you cannot trade your running back depth or a key starter, a weekly starter in K9, Kenneth Walker, when you have no depth now because you're going to be without Khalil Herbert for a bit. But kudos to Khalil. He tried to come back into the game and play, but was realistic with himself and said, no, I can't keep going. He fell right to the floor when he tried to cut. So
yeah, the Bears lost 3 running backs in that game, and their fullback, I think, took over as an emergency deployment.
Yeah.
Because Deontay Foreman is a healthy scratch for 4 weeks in a row or something, and now they need him. So I'm assuming he's going to get the start. Even if Roschon passes concussion protocol and he's active, I think Foreman takes the start here and he gets the bulk of the work.
Yeah, I would agree on that one. We're watching Roschon Johnson's concussion closely. We'll keep you guys updated on Twitter. I'll make a post about it. More than likely, the way it's been going this year is if they're not cleared by Friday, they're not playing. So we'll keep an eye on the Bears practice for that today. Since I'm talking, I might as well take it over. Go into my buy right now. And to me, this is the perfect time to get this player because he's coming off of back-to-back duds. And he's a little banged up, but it's not really impacting his performance. It's just another reason for you to target this guy and maybe buy him low. And I'm talking about Chris Olave, the wide receiver of the New Orleans Saints, coming off a 9-point game against the New England Patriots. That was just a complete blowout, but 9.20, that's good enough for a wide receiver 41 finish in week 5, which is definitely not where you drafted Chris Olave. 5 targets, only caught 2 of them, only made for 12 yards on that, but did get a touchdown. However, coming off of a wide receiver 119 finish in week 4 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he caught 1 ball for 4 yards. This is a wide receiver that's struggling right now. We're not sure why. Maybe it's because Derek Carr's shoulder is injured and Kamara came back, and now they're trying to just play through Kamara while Carr battles through this nagging injury. But Olave's got a juicy schedule coming up. He plays Houston this week, which is a tough one, but then he gets a couple of defenses that are pretty bad against the pass right now for wide receivers. The Jacksonville Jaguars, the Indianapolis Colts, the Chicago Bears, and the Minnesota Vikings. if you're a Chris Olave owner, you're licking your chops at those matchups and you're hoping that he's able to explode during that 4-week stretch. However, there's also the possibility. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said I am one.
Yeah. There's also the possibility that he doesn't get things going. And this Chris Olave owner in your league is really frustrated and he is ready to move on because he needs production now because he may be 1-4, 2-3, whatever the case may be. This is the time to go get Chris Olave. Similar to a player we were discussing earlier, Garrett Wilson. His value may be at his lowest right now. CeeDee Lamb, actually, was who we were talking about earlier. His value may be at his lowest, but you know that the boom weeks are coming. So Chris Olave is a name that I'm targeting. I still feel like he's wide receiver 1 in New Orleans, despite how well Michael Thomas has been playing lately. He just needs to get the ball from Derek Carr. He just needs a little more attention in the passing game. Double-digit targets from weeks 1 through 3 with 10, 11, and 11, respectively. It's gone down to 6 and 5, but I think that Chris Olave is due for an absolutely insane game coming up in this next 5-game stretch. So buy Chris Olave right now. That's my opinion on him. How do you guys feel about it? Kyle, tell me how you feel about Olave.
Well, the Saints offense has kind of been struggling all year, and Derek Carr's got to take the brunt of the weight of that. They had a good game against New England, who really hasn't recently. Even when they put up 34-0, he only throws for 183 yards. And they lean on Kamara. I mean, that's got to be good for the New Orleans offense. Kamara, the more they feed him, the more it's going to open up that passing game for Derek Carr. It's going to make his life a lot easier. I think they need to lean on the run a little bit more with Kamara and get attention away from the receivers. I don't know when it's going to turn around. I think New Orleans offense is still a work in progress, but it's a good buy low candidate. He's got all the skills in the world. Pick him up now if you can.
Yep. Bruce, how you feeling about Chris Olave?
I was about to hit you with the but that's dynasty. But that's dynasty. I want him. I'm a firm believer of Olave. You know that. I've been since last year. Mm-hmm. So it's I feel like, if you could sell him, especially in a redraft. I feel like right now the way redraft is working this year, I think that moves need to be made, right, for certain people to even try to make their playoffs. So, you know, you got a lot of teams that are looking at that 2-3, 3-2. They don't know where they're at. So you might want to just try to make a move and maybe buy them, get them for something. I don't know what you could dump off right now. I'm trying to look at like possible things, but like a perfect example is like you have Thielen.
Yeah.
You could get Thielen. You could possibly trade Thielen for an Olave because you could just try to pack again. You try to make it look good. Thielen's got things going. He's the guy over there. He's getting all the targets. Hey man, it looks like Carr is struggling with getting Olave the ball. It's really just misses. But at the end of the day, like you got to set these trades up to work to your benefit if that's the guy that you want. If you're looking to buy Olave, you got to figure out how you're gonna buy him. How much are you willing to give up for him? And for me, he's one of my top receivers. So I feel like he just there's upside to him, right? There's no
or maybe even a Jacoby Myers. I mean, a hot start to the season,
and that's another.
Still got Garoppolo. I would imagine Jacoby's going to come back down to earth at some point. You could sell that guy high right now and probably get Olave on your team.
I mean, it's crazy, right? Because we want to believe that he's going to come back down to earth, but the way Garoppolo keeps looking for this guy, it's just like there's. You ask yourself, hey, did Devontae get injured or something? Like, what's going on here? Like, why are we not going for the guy? Like, with Garoppolo, he had 29. That's against the Broncos, obviously. He didn't play Buffalo because he was injured. He came back. Pittsburgh, he had 15 points. He's 12 targets, 10 targets. Against the Chargers, he only had 4, but then he's back to 10. Garoppolo wasn't in for that game, as a matter of fact. Sorry.
There you go.
Garoppolo comes back to 10 targets.
Yeah.
20 points.
He's a guy that I just traded for in the Dynasty League. So obviously I like him. I needed some depth. I gave up some picks to add depth, and it started with Jerome Ford and I didn't have the picks to just do a straight up swap, so we put a package together, and Myers was on the top of my list.
Yeah, and that's a trade that made sense for both sides. You're someone that's in the thick of it right now. You have an elite team that's kind of centered around guys like Derrick Henry, Jalen Hurts, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen. Like, you've got a deep squad, or not a deep squad. At first, it was top heavy, but then you made the trade, and now you have a deep squad to where, hey, bye weeks come around, you've got dudes you could throw in. And on the flip side, the owner that you traded with, Emilio, his team is kind of fluttering a little bit, and he's being realistic about where his team might go, and he's ready to embrace not necessarily the rebuild, but hey, I might not make the playoffs by a hair. Let me just get some picks and build around some of the key pieces he has as well.
Yeah, my picks are getting thin, but I still have a first in 24 and a first in 25, so I'm pretty happy where I'm at. I could still make another splash if I wanted to with one of those firsts. And maybe I will. I'm a little happy with the trade I just made, so maybe I'll see how that pans out. And wait for somebody who's in super tank mode, and maybe I can get more value out of a pick later down the season. We'll see.
And for context, you lost a big piece in Nick Chubb. So that played a role in getting his handcuff, Jerome Ford, as well as two guys that are no slouches. Josh Reynolds has proven to have some flex play upside, and Jacoby Myers, a wide receiver 2 production right now. Who can blame you?
Yeah, I was almost going to do it without Reynolds involved, and I was like, why don't you just throw me a bad pick, make it feel like I'm getting something else? And he goes, I'll throw you Reynolds instead. It's better than a bad pick. And I was like, all over that. Let's do that.
So to go back to the point of the conversation, it was by Chris Olave, and you two bring up great names that are outproducing Chris Olave right now, and Adam Thielen and Jacoby Myers. So maybe dress it up with a little extra piece to make that Chris Olave owner feel comfortable, because at the end of the day, Adam Thielen, Jacoby Myers aren't as sexy of a name as Chris Olave, but very realistic candidate and very realistic people that you can probably move to get Chris Olave. Any last comments on Chris before I move over to Marcel?
No, man. Go with it.
All right. So Marcel is a player that I have in Dynasty, and he's been killing it in 2023. But I think that comes to an end even this year, even as early as I think it might have came to an end last week, honestly. And that is Kyren Williams, who was a rock star through the first 4 weeks of the season. My issue is Cooper Kupp comes back immediately. His target share depletes. Only gets 13 carries for 53 yards, which 13 carries is still good. That's still RB2 worthy stuff. But he was making a killing off of catching passes. Week 2, he got 10 targets, 6 balls he caught for 48 yards. Week 3, he got 7 targets. That's not going to be the same anymore now with Cooper Kupp coming back, because Cooper Kupp is the owner of the middle of the field. Kyron's not going to get those looks anymore, in my opinion. And he's not an explosive runner. This isn't a running back that has high upside based off of he can break one. He's not like a Tony Pollard or a Brees, even though he is an RB5 right now in fantasy. I think that was more because of the Rams missing Cooper Kupp. I think now that he's back, you'll see this offense go back to going through Cooper Kupp, playing through Puka Nacua, letting Matthew Stafford just shred it through the air. And I think this is still a player that you can kind of sell high, because he's had a bad game in the middle of his great games. Week 1 against Seattle, 17 points. Week 2 against San Fran, 28. Then he comes down to earth a little bit. Week 3 against Cincy with 8.5. But then he goes against Indy, 27.70. That's how we find him as an RB5 right now through the first 5 weeks. But then against Philly, it's only 7.70. I still think you can sell Kyren high for 2023. I just think that this is a player that you should get rid of now before you keep trusting him based off the big games that he's had previously, and he just leaves you high and dry for the rest of the season. I don't think that he's going to continue this RB5 level production here for the rest of 2023. So Kyren Williams is my sell as of right now.
I have a question real quick. When the playoffs? Playoffs starts week 15.
Week 15, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like what I was just looking at is like you try to sell him maybe because like you might be able to get a little bit of stock up on him, right?
Yeah.
So the price could go up on him, and then try to dump him to somebody that's trying to make the playoffs. Like they're just like desperate in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, but the thing is that we're relying that he's gonna he's gonna get some burn in he's gonna get some love in these next 2 games, or maybe this next game, so you could try to sell him right away.
Yeah.
And try to sell him to somebody, because but then it's like it's kind of difficult. But yeah, I would just try to again paint it pretty, bro. Because how does Cooper Kupp come back and it's like he never missed a beat, dude. So he's
just great. He's just elite.
Oh my god. So it's like, how do you try to sell this guy right now? Like, and I'm not saying you don't. I agree with the sell. I definitely agree with the sell. It's just how are you packaging him up is my question.
So my thing is, I don't necessarily think you need to package Kyren. I think Kyren still there's enough solid work to Kyren Williams' resume for 2023 at least, to where you can still sell him high just by himself and maybe get a wide receiver that you trust, or maybe even a running back that you feel more comfortable in that's underperforming right now compared to Kyren, but you trust his 2023 outlook more than Kyren's, because I do think that he takes a significant hit with Cooper Kupp coming back. So I wouldn't package Kyren with anything. I just throw him on the block and be like, hey, I'm looking for a wide receiver upgrade. I'm looking for a quarterback upgrade. I'm looking for whatever it is, or I'm looking for a running back that I trust more. Rest of season, I don't know about you guys, but when we look at the offense the running back is attached to, the fact that they get a majority of the work and that offense isn't even clicking or at its peak yet, I think for the rest of 2023, I'd rather have a guy like Joe Mixon over Kyren Williams, honestly, because I don't think Kyren is a special player. He's someone that his athletic profile is easily replaceable. He like I said, he's not going to provide home run opportunities. His pass catching opportunities are going to decrease now with Cooper Kupp back. If you need to, go trade him for a running back that you feel more comfortable in. And that's perfectly fine, because I do think that the workload is going to decrease significantly. Maybe not in the rushing department, but as a pass catcher where he was really getting some good value.
Okay.
Kyle, how you feel about Kyren?
Yeah,
it's a real sell high guy, and you got to be in the right situation and to have the luxury to be able to sell somebody who absolutely owns their backfield, has been performing as a top 5 running back in a surprisingly competitive Rams team. I mean, definitely there's going to be some buyers out there for a guy like that. You would need 2 other solid running backs on your team in order to even consider that to begin with. So if you have that luxury, you're in a really good spot to sell somebody high. It's a good candidate. You get a lot of value for him right now.
Yeah. And while we're here in the middle of the show, we just got a report. Miles Sanders has officially been ruled out of the game on Sunday. So Chuba Hubbard, if you have him and you need him to be a flex play or your RB2 because you were depending on Miles Sanders, throw Chuba in there, put Miles Sanders on the bench. All right. That was buy, sell. Before we get into our factors and actors for the week, let's talk about some of our favorite matchups fantasy-wise. These big games. Kyle, I'll throw it to you real quick. What's your matchup to look out for here in week 6?
It's going to be the Chargers-Cowboys game on Monday night, and I didn't even think about it for very long. It's got the highest over-under of the week at 50.5. I think that's going to even go over that. It's got shootout potential. Cowboys coming off a really bad loss. They're going to bounce back against this Chargers defense that's nowhere as near formidable as San Francisco's. Austin Eckler's back in the lineup. That's not official, but it looks pretty much official that he's going to be back. So the Chargers back to full strength without Mike Williams, obviously out for the year. Cowboys look to be at full strength on offense. They don't have Diggs on that defensive side anymore. I think there's definitely some shootout potential there. I'm looking for a lot of big fantasy numbers.
Yeah, I agree. I like that matchup a lot. I think Keenan Allen has been on an absolute tear this season. I think he's going to pick up right where he left off against a Dallas defense that, they have a good corner in Stephon Gilmore, but they lost Trevon Diggs, and it's shown so far. Keenan Allen, someone that had back-to-back wide receiver 1 finishes in week 2 and week 3. He's just on an absolute tear. And then, like we spoke about earlier, CeeDee Lamb, a bounce-back candidate. So this game has a lot of fantasy potential, especially with the guys like Austin Eckler and Tony Pollard as well. So I like this one. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah. I mean, we want to see what Eckler does, right? I think Eckler was gone for those 4 games. He started off the season promising. It's the Chargers. I feel like every time the Chargers get into a game, they're in a shootout. So yeah, we're looking for a lot. Because I got Tony Pollard in the league. I'm looking for him to do something. And Deuce Vaughn, bro. I need his breakout game to happen already.
Yeah. You love your boy Deuce.
I'd be messing around. Now at this point, it's just gonna be a ongoing joke. Yeah, because it's just like they act like they were gonna use him, and they haven't really been implementing him to the offense. But I understand you got Rico Dowdle that's doing things, so it's interesting. But yeah, that's definitely a game I want to see. I want to see what fantasy implications are on that. I don't have much in this game. That's what's funny. It's weird because it's, you know what it is. I didn't get CD Lamb. I don't want anybody. Right. And the real deal league, I wasn't gonna get Tony Pollard. I wasn't gonna get CD Lamb. I wasn't in position to get any of those guys. So
you do have Pollard in one league, though.
I do, but not in the real deal. So that's one where that league is my main focus because obviously there's the podcast, but also like there's something about that league. I don't know about you guys, but it's just like you want to win.
Yeah.
There's two other guys in that matchup we should talk about. They've been sitting on benches most of the year, haven't done a whole lot. Maybe it's time for Brandon Cooks and Quentin Johnston to start picking it up a little bit in this game.
Yeah.
Cooks especially, I think, because he's the number 2 there. Quentin's still working his way into the offense, even with the Mike Williams injury. Josh Palmer's the number 2 there. But the rookie's still getting acclimated to the game. He's got a lot of skills and a lot of speed. They could use him out there on Monday night and put him on a showcase and let everybody know that they made the right decision in the draft. But I expect a little bit more out of Brandon Cooks this week too.
Yeah. One thing I'll say, so I'll ask you a question real quick. A couple episodes ago, when Mike Williams tore his ACL, I said, rest of season, I'd rather have Josh Palmer over Quentin Johnston. Where do you stand on those 2 wide receivers?
Right now, you got to agree with that because they're just not throwing Johnston the ball. He's borderline droppable right now, unless you really have room on your bench to wait for him to develop. A lot of people don't have that luxury right now with injuries and bye weeks. But this could be the game where maybe he catches a long one.
Yeah. All right. That being said, Bruce, what's your game of the week this week?
We kind of were touching on it in a sense, but I want to see the Saints in Houston, man.
Okay.
Only because Carr's been struggling, but also I feel like there's upside to this game, right? As far as fantasy, you got Kamara. Kamara seems to be rolling. We want to see what Olave's doing. Michael Thomas owners also, you want to see what they get going. I feel like the New England, the Saints offense, New Orleans offense hasn't been this high-powered offense that we expected this year. So it's like, at what point are we going to see this? I know Houston's not an easy team right now. I feel like Houston should be 3-2. They had a tough loss last week. And you know how I feel about it. I might as well get a Houston Texans hat because I'm a fan of these guys right now. I want to see Pierce have a better fantasy value. Tank Dell, I think they just gave an update just now. I don't think he's practicing. So he's in concussion protocol, I believe.
Yeah,
so
he's officially. It says he will miss Sunday's game against the Saints.
And then is Noah Brown coming back? So I would like to see if Noah Brown is coming back this week. I'm not sure. I think he is, though.
He's designated to return. So there's a
Nico
possibility.
Collins is my guy. Mm-hmm. You know, I love Nico Collins. He's been doing a lot of work over there. But also the tight end position. Stop using Taysom Hill in every damn scheme that you guys do. Hey, he's out there. You know he's getting the ball. I would like to see Juwan Johnson do something, but also we want to see if Dalton Schultz is for real. Like, are they really going to keep using him in this offense? Because he had a really good week last week. So I'm sure if you have Dalton Schultz, you want to see him do what he was doing in Dallas. So that's something that I want to keep an eye on this game. I feel like it should be, I'm hoping, a game where these guys give us a show.
Yep. Kyle, how are we feeling about Dameon Pierce? This guy has been struggling, to say the least. Right now, RB25 through the first 5 weeks, has not had a game over 15 points yet, and has had 3 games under 10 points. And you kind of drafted him to be your RB2, maybe even your RB1 if you went 0 RB. How are we feeling about Dameon Pierce?
I think he's a buy low candidate, but there's just no buyers for him right now. He's been dealing with some minor injuries. This offense is focused around CJ Stroud in that passing game right now. What an amazing job he's done elevating this offense and elevating that defense too. Like, you used to be like, oh, the Texans are coming up, I got a juicy matchup. They're like top 5 against wide receivers on that defense right now. That's no longer a juicy matchup unless you get into some kind of shootout. I'm not a buyer in Dameon Pierce. I think he's just going to maintain that low RB2, high RB3 flex appeal for the rest of the season, and they just keep showcasing CJ.
Yeah. Tough matchup in week 6 against the Saints for Dameon Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the problem is that I just feel like they took Dameon Pierce and they started using him as a, hybrid running back, fullback, like as far as pass protection. Like they're really using him in the pass protection game because, like you said, the CJ Stroud, CJ Stroud's pocket presence is good, man. Like the kid, he's really good, man. I'm a fan of watching him play.
Yeah, he looks real deal. And Nico Collins is just balling. So I mean,
no pun intended on the real deal, right?
Yeah.
But that offense is really good. So you would think putting in a little of this run game would come into play. I mean, it is technically what they're doing. They're putting in a little bit of the run game. But you would expect Dameon Pierce to be that guy, right? Because he was running hard. He was the past couple of years. Last year he was really good, but he was the offense. That was the problem.
Right.
So let's see.
No, he's not. He's not the focal point anymore.
Yeah.
They got something in Stroud. He's already setting rookie records where they can lean on him and he can make the right decisions.
And if only the Giants got him.
But Dameon Pierce is going to continue to get the bulk of the carries. That's the good thing about the Houston backfield, right? Like Devin Singletary is behind him. That's not somebody that poses a real threat as far as taking carries because of his stature, 5'7", barely 200 pounds, soaking wet. So Dameon Pierce is still going to get the 20 carries around there, 18 to 20 a game. He's coming off a 24 carry game in week 4, 20 carries in week 5. So he's still going to get the volume, but it's just about the value. How much is he actually doing with what he's getting? And it's not a lot right now.
And let me walk that back. If CJ Stroud was on the Giants, he'd be getting destroyed over there with that line. So, and we wouldn't even be able to see the special talent that he is. So I take that back because the kid's doing really good over there.
Yeah, poor Tyrod Taylor has to sub in and play the Bills.
Yeah.
Bills are a little hurt on defense, and that is, I guess you could call a revenge game for Tyrod. But that's a tough fill-in for anybody.
Yeah.
Has me a little worried about playing Saquon if he does play, because it's like that Saquon is like you got to play him, right? If you got him, if he's starting, you play him. But Tyrod might just be running for his life the whole game, and he can run. So
well, you're banking on Saquon being a check down machine for him in that scenario. So I mean, which he's done plenty of times in his career. He could have 8 catches for 50 yards or something like that, and just blow up in PPR leagues in garbage time.
How so?
All right.
What about you, Trav?
Yeah, that's a great game. Saints and Texans. I'm looking forward to watching that one. My game of the week is going to be the Seattle Seahawks against the Cincinnati Bengals, but I'm not really I am interested in the Bengals side, but I don't want to spend too much time talking about the Bengals because we kind of know what to expect with them. Jamar Chase is back on track. Joe Burrow seems to be back on track. Seattle isn't a scary defense, but they're okay. They're solid. But I want to focus on the offensive side of the ball for Seattle because Kenneth Walker has been pretty damn good. He's RB13 in fantasy right now. 30-point game in week 3, 13-point game in week 4. Now they're coming off the bye and they get a sweet matchup against Cincinnati. But the player that's really intriguing me the most right now on the Seattle side of the ball is Jackson Smith-Njigba, and that's because we drafted him late in redraft leagues because of the upside, the boom potential towards the second half of the season. I want to see what the adjustments were from the Seattle offense post-bye, because they're coming off their week 5 bye week, as far as how they're going to get JSN the ball, because he deserves it. He's a very talented wide receiver. You drafted him in the first round for a reason. Tyler Lockett's still very good. DK Metcalf, clearly wide receiver 1 over there. But let's try to work Jackson Smith-Njigba in and see if we could really make this Seattle Seahawks offense as interesting as it can be and unlock its full potential with a guy like him running free over the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, Geno Smith's been good enough, right? Like he's been showing really good potential. I don't know what happened against the Giants, but the Giants defense is not that bad of a defense, but it's just they weren't at full strength. Now they are. So let's see what we get with them, because I feel like Seattle should be what's their record right now? I'm sorry. I should have been
Seattle is 3-1.
Oh, so they have a good offense. They could win games. Are they a Super Bowl contender? No, I'm just being honest. I don't feel like they are, but you want to see these type of competitive teams in the league, and you kind of want to you kind of rooting for Geno Smith, I feel like.
Yeah.
So you want him to do good, so you guys fantasy wise, that you get paid dividends, you know. So there's a lot going on, man. I will say this much
about JSN. I think it's more the dynasty nerd in me that just is ready to see him explode, because what the hell? He's so talented. He was drafted high in dynasty formats, drafted low in redraft formats, but this is a player fully capable of popping off if he gets some of the targets. Like, I think at this point in their careers, I'd rather try and get JSN involved and make him a game changer than I would Tyler Lockett. So that's really what I'm looking for. A bit of a changing of the guard there, going with the youth, going with the better route runner, someone that could truly be explosive for you. I'm just ready to see JSN pop off. Kyle, how do you feel about this Seattle-Cincinnati matchup?
They took him number 20th overall in the draft last year. They absolutely love this kid. But they frankly haven't needed him. I mean, they're 3-1.
Yeah.
Lockett and Metcalf is an amazing combo back there. K9's balling. Now Metcalf's dealing with a rib injury. If he misses this game, maybe this is their opportunity to focus a little more on JSN and get the ball in his hands any way you can. Like, this is a guy that you can use in all over the field. Like, put him in the slot, maybe give him some end arounds and a few carries. Just get the ball in this guy's hands. He's pretty electric.
Yeah. I agree. Any more points on this one? Because it's one that I'm excited to watch. I'm really looking forward to it, because I think this could be a 34-31 type of game with a lot of fantasy value.
Yeah, no, I see a lot of fantasy value in this game. I would like to see, I see a lot of fantasy.
Yeah, I'd like to see T. Higgins play in this one. That would really help me out.
That's a start. That's a start.
Yeah, Seattle is the number one matchup for wide receivers right now, just giving up everything to them. And Burrow and Chase coming off that monster bounce back game for this offense. Let's get T. Higgins back in the mix and have ourselves a huge fantasy day.
Yeah, T. Higgins is another one, man, that I just get upset that he doesn't get involved enough, man.
Yeah.
It's a frustrating one.
Well, with us wrapping up our fantasy matchups of the week that we're looking forward to, you know what time it is, how we end every show. Kyle, the screen's on you. We're going to kick it off with you. Factors and actors time. Who is your factor for week 6?
Can we get some love to Adam Thielen, bro? Like,
yeah, we can.
What a season this guy is having. Everybody sort of wrote him off after he left Minnesota. A sneaky pickup by Carolina, slid way down draft boards because nobody knew what to expect with the rookie coming in. But the guy can just get open. He's just uncanny at getting open, running routes, showing his hands and his numbers. And an absolute safety blanket for, it could be Andy Dalton. He filled in once and had a great game. It doesn't matter who's there. He's the safety blanket there. He's projected 13 points in a game against the Dolphins. I think we all know how that game script is going to be. They're going to be playing from behind. And I see Adam Thielen's floor at 13, not his projection. He could see 10 plus targets in this matchup. he's outperformed 13 points in his last 4 games. Like that 13 for him in this matchup, I think is just disrespectful. Look for him to double that number.
All right. I like that. I mean, it's proof is there, bro. The numbers don't lie. I mean, and he's good, bro. Like watching him during that Detroit game, man, he's over there fighting. Guys are holding him, and he's still getting open. During that game, he was like complaining to the refs that he's getting grabbed and he's getting held, and he's still getting 100 yards. So imagine if he wasn't.
Steal in the draft.
Oh, absolutely. I think right now outside of Puka Nacua, right? We can argue that the value of fantasy football drafts right now was Adam Thielen, because this was not a guy that you were even considering starting as a flex option. He was your wide receiver 4 at best walking out of drafts.
Yep.
And he is now a top 10 wide receiver through the first 5 weeks. And it's not a fluke because the targets are there. 9 targets week 2, 14 week 3, 8 week 4, 13 week 5. Like, he is clearly, and he had the 31, his biggest game of the season, the 31.5. He had that with Andy Dalton, but he has put up incredible numbers with Bryce Young too. Clearly Bryce Young's favorite target. Adam Thielen is a hell of a factor for week 6. I really like that pick against the Dolphins.
What is he looking like this week? Like, where do they have him? Like, what's his ranking?
So
through the first 5 games, he's wide receiver 10.
Okay.
Yep, he is WR10, which is nice for the guy in first place in the Real Deal League who just lost Jefferson, Connor, and Achan was the 3 he lost.
Yep.
He's flexing Thielen as the wide receiver 10 right now. The guy's rocking 2 whole squads.
Yeah.
What a luxury to have when you go 3 guys go on IR and you can flex Thielen. Good for him.
Like, no problem. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I play him this week, and I was just like, "Oh, he's banged up." I'm like, "No, dude. He literally. This is another team. Like, this is just another team. He has another team on his bench. Great draft for him. Great waiver pickups too, because he had some that came from waivers. So I give him credit where credit's due, man.
And let's not forget, he is number 1 on the waiver wire right now. So. He has the privilege of picking up whoever he wants to as well.
Jesus.
Hopefully to lose
more injuries.
To lose James Conner and Devon Achan in the same week and just be like, all right, I guess I'll start David Montgomery and Damian Pierce. Like, dude, he absolutely smoked that draft. He did a phenomenal job with it.
Really did.
Adam Thielen is your factor. Who's going to be acting this week? Who should we expect a down game from?
Michael Pittman is my actor for this week. Obviously, another injury to Big Tony, Anthony Richardson. This one's a big one. AC joint sprain in his throwing shoulder. He's on IR, out 4 to 8 weeks. That's because his return game has a bye week after that, so they might hold him out another game and let him rest on the bye. Yeah. There's been an emergence of Josh Downs in Indianapolis. He had a big catch from Big Tony before he got hurt, and then 2 big catches after that when Minshew came into the game. I think Minshew likes him. I think we continue to see Josh Downs' role grow. Michael Pittman, the first 3 games, 8+ receptions in each game. He has 6 receptions in the last 2 games combined. They are projecting him at 13.25 points. I am fading that hard. I don't think he hits that number.
Yeah, and I'll even go as far as to say I think that 3-game stretch to begin the season was a good sell high opportunity for Michael Pittman.
Definitely.
Because in hindsight right now, Anthony Richardson's hurt, but even prior to the injury, I don't view Michael Pittman as that guy in essence, and maybe that's just some sort of bias from the previous years that he's had. Yeah, but I kind of felt a decline coming because that target share, the amount of receptions he was getting, it was just ridiculous. It was something that surely Michael Pittman's never seen in his career in the NFL. And so I do think that it was a good time to get rid of him if you could have. Now, as an actor, where Gardner Minshew is going to be his quarterback 1 against Jacksonville, who isn't the toughest defense, but they just gave Buffalo hell. They really did. Even though Stephon Diggs got a touchdown and Gabe Davis got a touchdown, it's a decent matchup for wide receivers. But the Gardner Minshew aspect is what really brings him down, in my opinion. So I like Michael Pittman as an actor for week 6 for sure.
Mm-hmm. Jacksonville's getting hot. The last 3 games, they've been getting a little better and a little better. They've ripped off 3 wins. 2 of them were at home in London because they're the London Jaguars.
Yes,
but now they go to their real home stadium in Jacksonville against a division rival. I think they win this game, and I think they shut down Minshew in that offense.
Yeah, they got 3 home games.
It's quite a stretch.
Yeah. It's like a baseball series. You get 3 games at home.
Right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I know we keep saying this guy, but I have to say him Addison, right? For obvious reasons.
Jordan Addison's your factor?
Yeah, he's my factor this week, only because it's pretty obvious, right? Like we have to go with Addison this week. Addison shouldn't be having these bad weeks that he's been having. He had that bad week last week. Oh no, the week prior. Yeah, he had that 4-point game, was it? Oh no, he had a 0. He wasn't on the field at all. So I just feel like this week here, obviously, is going to be Addison's season with this offense. Hopefully, he was limited. He was limited in practice, but I don't think that's a big deal. Obviously, because this offense is kind of going to have to run through him. You're going to have your little vulture over here that KJ Osborne. But at the end of the day, Addison gets open, and he's got to be the guy. So I just feel like he's going to have to be my factor this week. I need him. I need him. I'm a little selfish, right? But I would look for Hawkinson as well to have big games. They're looking for a lot of people to hold a lot of weight, but the targets are there. So Addison doesn't have to get a touchdown this week. He just got to get the target share that Justin Jefferson was getting. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's where it's going to go. Maybe even Osborne has a good game, but at the end of the day, we all know Addison's just target share goes up. So
12 targets per game are up in the air right now for Jordan Addison and any other Vikings pass catcher. Kyle, how do you feel about Jordan Addison?
Yeah, he's a must start this week. You got to put him in your lineup somehow. I like him a lot. Kirk Cousins second in the league in passing yardage. That yardage has got to go somewhere. Addison and Hawkinson obviously are the 2 that take the biggest bump up, and Osborne too, obviously. But they got to feed Addison the ball here. They don't know how to run the ball very well. That's kind of their game is to just throw the shit out of it. So look for them to continue their game plan of just chucking the ball down the field and using Kirk Cousins in a contract year. So, he wants to look really good. He wants to bolster his numbers. Hopefully Addison takes advantage of the big void in that offense right now. Yeah.
And both teams 1-4. Both teams are 1-4. So somebody, I'm looking for a shootout here. Yeah, it's a must win for both teams. So it's I'm looking for a shootout. Justin Fields has been coming in too. Justin Fields has been playing great. So game script, technically, if we get the same Justin Fields as we've been getting, they're gonna have to keep up with them. So it's gonna have to be a shootout.
Could be another shootout.
Yeah, that ball's gonna have to get slung. So yeah, and we're heavily leaning on Addison in this show. I think this is the 3rd week, right? But it's because we believe in him, and we don't think even Jay Jettas is there. But this should be, like I said before. I know you guys didn't take it. You guys didn't like it, but Randy. This could be like a second coming of a Randy Moss, Chris Carter tandem thing going on over there. Like that being like honest, like there could be two great wide receivers there in the same place, but you get them in earlier in their careers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Because Chris Carter was the veteran over there when Randy Moss came in, right? He was like the young guy. Mm-hmm. So but now you get 2 really good wide receivers, young in their career. I want to see Addison do more, bro, and I believe this week he'll do it.
Who do you think is going to do less this week?
Honestly, man, I'm just this Derrick Henry, dude. I don't know why I'm not high on Derrick Henry. Like I was saying, sell him last week, and then this week I'm just like, you might want to not even play him. Nah, but you start Derrick Henry, obviously.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that against Baltimore, real tough, go get it defense. And then the whole thing with TJ Spears, dude, like he's coming around, right? He's getting targets. He's making things happen with his targets. I just feel like Derrick Henry might not fit fit the team right now, in a sense. And it's not a bad thing. Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. Like, he's nasty. But there's a reason why I was saying sell him last week, because you see somebody like TJ Spears coming alive, a rookie, and a team where they're kind of playing from behind all the time, right? Like the Titans ain't got everything rolling, so you got a kid that could catch the ball. I'm more high on TJ, so I feel like him finding the end zone last week was gonna help, right? Boost confidence in him. I feel like he might start stealing touches and start stealing reps from Derrick Henry.
Yeah. They were even talking about Derrick Henry being a trade candidate. Kyle, you are a Derrick Henry owner in the Dynasty League. How are you navigating Derrick Henry in this Week 6 matchup? Obviously playing him, but how do you feel about it?
I always feel good about Derrick Henry. I understand he's 30. He doesn't look like the old Derrick Henry of old. The Titans, he needs relief. I mean, that's fine. Give Spears a few touches. He's getting a lot of catches out of the backfield. I don't know if he's ready to take over the job, which would have to happen if they trade Derrick Henry, which I'm okay with too. If they want to give Derrick Henry a new atmosphere and a fresh look, I'm all about that. He's been doing this for Tennessee for so long. He might be tired of doing it over there too. The big team that I hear a lot that makes a lot of sense is Baltimore. Yeah, I'd love for Henry to be wearing a Ravens uniform fantasy wise. I think that would only help his game. Gus Edwards doesn't look like he's getting it done. Justice Hill is nice as a pass catcher, but Derrick Henry, he's got a Raven written all over him if they do decide to make a move. Cleveland's another team that comes up, but I don't see that happening as much as Baltimore. But I'm confident in the guy. I mean, he's still Derrick Henry. He's still a beast. He's still healthy. They still run the ball a lot. He's my RB 1B in that league, I guess you could say. I picked up Jerome Ford. I have James Cook. I don't have like a solid RB1, but a decent core of guys where he's obviously going to be in my lineup every week. But spell him a little bit. Make sure he doesn't get tired. I need him all season.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, listen, I don't hate Derrick Henry, man. I really like Derrick Henry. I just I don't know what's going on over there. Even like I got D-Hop, and I'll bench him, and then he's like the only option over there sometimes, and it's just like, but he's not enticing for me to start. It's just something about Tannehill, I guess, that I don't enjoy. So you would think Derrick Henry would be balling out of control this year, but there's just something about this Tennessee offense that is just not doing it for me, man.
There's just no explosiveness over there, and you cannot like count on some sort of home run hit from any of those guys. They got to get the touches, and it's very game script oriented. You just never know how it's going to go. You just got to get comfortable with boom or bust Tennessee, everybody on that offense.
Yeah, perfectly said right there on Derrick Henry, who has a tough matchup Week 6 against the Baltimore Ravens. My factor for Week 6, it's a part of that same game that we were just talking about a while ago, and it's going to be TJ Hawkinson for the Minnesota Vikings. I think while I expect Jordan Addison to step up and outdo his projections this week also, I think TJ Hawkinson has a good opportunity to do so as well. Right now, Hawkinson is projected for 14.66 points, which seems like a lot, but I think he's capable of getting it done, especially in a matchup, obviously, where there's no Justin Jefferson and it's against the Chicago Bears, who you can kind of have your way with also. We just saw Logan Thomas have a 20-plus point game against them on Thursday Night Football, so there are points to be had from the tight ends. I think TJ Hawkinson is going to dominate the targets in this one for the Minnesota Vikings, and I think he'll make good on his projections, maybe even surpassing 14.66. I really like this matchup this week against the Chicago Bears. Kyle, talk to me a little bit about TJ Hawkinson.
He's obviously a starter for any team. He's one of the top 3 tight ends in the league right now. 14 does seem kind of low, especially because Logan Thomas had that big game against Chicago. Chicago is pretty beatable all over the field defensively. I mean, Hawkinson's just that guy. Is he gonna have 9 targets and 90 whatever yards that Kelsey had and surpass that 22 number? There's potential there. I think his ceiling is a little bit above that. But yeah, absolutely going to be a factor in this matchup.
How you feel about Hawkinson, Bruce?
I like tight ends, dude. I feel like the tight ends are quarterback's best friends, man. I feel like any good offense is gonna use their tight end, and those are the guys that they're gonna expect Addison. Like again, Addison's gonna be on the field, but Hawkinson will be the touchdown guy. And we see it. You see it with Justin Jefferson when he's on the field. He gets the targets, he gets the yards, but Hawkinson find the end zone, or Osborne to find the end zone. Somebody else finds the end zone. So I feel like there's still upside for both teams. But yeah, I feel like when it comes to tight ends, a good offense implements their tight ends, and the tight ends is their quarterback's best friend.
Yeah. TJ Hawkinson, someone I feel really good about having a strong week 6, especially against a matchup against the Chicago Bears. Like we said, should be airing it out in that one. Honestly, you haven't been getting much out of Alexander Madison. You haven't been getting much out of Cam Akers. What else is there to do than go balls to the wall with the passing game and try to just throw for 300, 400 yards against a bad Chicago Bears defense? On the flip side, I need to have an actor, right? And this is a player I generally don't remember. I might have had him as an actor against Dallas, but for some reason, I just can't help but feel like Deebo Samuel is going to act up this week against the Cleveland Browns in a bad way. It's not a good matchup for wide receivers. And in my opinion, he's wide receiver 2 over there. So I think Brandon Ayuk is going to be the focal point of the passing game. And obviously, Christian McCaffrey puts a huge dent in Deebo Samuel's value. I think Deebo is going to struggle in week 6 against the Cleveland Browns on the road. Probably going to be a way more physical game than people think it's going to be. But I also think that finesse aspect to the Purdy Ayuk combination is going to make a difference in this one. And I think that's where most of the targets and most of the love will be going Brandon Ayuk's direction, which is going to leave Deebo hanging high and dry. Bruce, talk to me about Deebo. How you feeling about him against the Browns?
I've always felt like Ayuk. Like a few years ago, I drafted Ayuk. Because I felt like he should be the number 1. And there's a reason why. He's always open, dude. He just needed a quarterback to get him the ball. Thankfully, they got a better quarterback in Purdy than Garoppolo was, and this offense is clicking. And when it comes to Deebo, the McCaffrey effect, right? He's not running the ball like he was before. They're not doing those little swing plays for him. So for me, I'm not high on the Deebo. I'm not a Deebo Samuel's fan. So I'm going to agree with that as far as the actor and this offense, the way this offense is playing right now and how they're implementing things. Usyk, right? Usyk, is that how you say it?
Usyk, yeah, Kyle Usyk.
He'll probably be more. They'll probably implement him more than Deebo. He might outscore Deebo.
It's possible. I mean, Deebo had the stinker against the Arizona Cardinals a couple weeks ago, 0.60. So we've seen and now granted he was dealing with the ribs and the knee injury, but there are instances where Deebo kind of gets phased out a bit. Kyle, how do you feel about this matchup for Deebo?
Deebo might be the number 4 guy in San Francisco behind Kittle when you want to factor in tight ends. You like your tight ends, Bruce?
Yeah.
Kittle's a guy coming off a 3 touchdown game. He looks like the go-to number 2 or 3 after McCaffrey and Ayuk. So Samuel is kind of buried behind the target share order. They also don't need him. I mean, when he had his big year, he was a gadget, man. They used him all over the field. They don't need to do anything like that anymore. Kyle Shanahan does not need to be tricking people out there. They go out there and do things and they dominate. And they don't need to use Deebo as an X factor or a wild card or a joker, whatever you want to call him. They just don't need to do that. And like you touched on, he's probably not a good pure wide receiver just to put him out there as the number 2 running routes against corners. So they don't need to use him. He's probably 4th in the pecking order. There's nothing really exciting to hold on to Samuel's value right here as long as the Niners are rolling.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
No, and then, I overlooked the Kittle situation, but it's true.
Yeah.
And Kittle's physical, McCaffrey's physical. And I hate to say it, but I'm only saying it because they do utilize Usyk. I hope I'm saying his name right.
Juszczyk.
Yeah, see, they used the Juszczyk. Yeah.
There you go.
Kyle, did you use them? Check. Cool.
Use them, check.
Use them,
there
check.
you go.
Yeah, one of those offenses that still deploys
Utilizes
a fullback,
Yeah.
and Juszczyk is a Pro Bowl fullback. He's a real good one.
So it's just I feel like this physical offense, and then you got that Ayuk out there just getting open all the time. We've seen it. I mean, how many targets did he have last week? Because I feel like he was always open last week. He got 7 targets, but I just feel like he gets big time plays. So there's nothing else to say. Ayuk has become who we expected him to be.
Yeah.
It just took a little longer because they needed somebody like McCaffrey there to run the ball. Because
absolutely.
Right.
McCaffrey opens things up for everybody on that offense, but I do feel like Brandon Ayuk and Kittle are the beneficiaries of that.
McCaffrey's such a beast.
Any closing statements on this game?
No, man. I feel like I can't get. I think we got to keep Kyle and you away. We went so long because you guys love talking. It's good to see you guys. Yeah, but like you guys are always talking, even in the chat. So it's good to see you guys on the show together because it's really good, man.
Easily.
Yeah, you guys.
It's a podcast, you got to talk. That's why we're here.
Exactly. But easily one of my favorite people to talk to.
I don't know who's watching us for 90 minutes, but I mean, we filled our podcast for the week. I mean,
that was great, and it's fun, man. Mike was great last week too. It was a good good time, and then I wonder how long it would have went. We would have had Kev here too, though, right? We would have, but it's good, man. Like you talk football, man. Football is like life, dude.
No, absolutely. Kyle is one of those managers that in the chats he's active. I love talking ball with him. 1, because he knows his stuff, but 2, he's always engaged in every league. Like you can't tell that Kyle has a favorite league or anything like that. Like he is equally engaged in all chats, all leagues, making moves. So really, really grateful to get Kyle on the show because I know there's someone that loves ball just like we do.
It's funny because when Kyle real quick when we worked together over there at the Hard Rock, it was like you would always talking fantasy, dude. Like whenever you got a free moment to talk, hey, what's up? You used to come into you want to make a trade, or you talking trades or talking waivers, or so it's just like it's hilarious, man.
That's what downtime in the office is for. It's what's good about having an office league. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A little downtime. You talk a little trash. You talk a little trade. You try to see where people's heads are at. It's always fun.
As soon as he could come up for some air, it was fantasy talk, dude. It was just like, hey, man, what do you think about this guy?
Well, Kyle, we greatly appreciate having you on the show. It was an honor to be able to talk ball with you for an hour and a half. Like I said, one of my favorite league managers. You have any closing statements you'd like to add?
My pleasure for being here, bro. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Yes. I don't know how you guys do this every week. It's just a lot, man. There's so much to talk about. It's crazy. I love being a guest, though, coming in. I'll fill in a spot. Let me know if you guys need me. I'd be happy to come back.
I think we're gonna rotate a few of you guys. Some of these guys it's like pulling teeth to get them in here, man. We want to get everybody in here because there's so many different it's just different drafting strategies. People play the league differently, but I feel like so far you, Javi, and Mike, man, they're like the go-tos right now. You guys really engaged with it. We hope to get more people on, but we appreciate when you guys do take the time to come on, man.
I'm always down. I got to do a little bit of homework and take some notes and make sure I at least looks like I know what I'm talking about.
I need the help, but I'm just here because I'm the regular Joe, bro. I'm not like you guys. You guys got the numbers. I mess up people's names still.
Hey, names are tough, man.
I have to go back to English class.
Bruce,
Pittman, Lamb, Wilson. My list was very easy names for me. I pick easy names to pronounce.
Yeah. So listen, man, leave a comment. You guys could leave us your factors and actors. If you guys didn't agree with something you heard, something maybe I said, Travis said, Kyle said, let us know. You can always ask for it, especially when you got guys like Kyle and Travis. Hey, leave a comment. You guys feel like maybe you're trying to get a trade done in your league, leave a comment. Maybe one of these guys will get back to you and we see what's up. And follow us on the socials. Travis, you know them, please. Can you tell them? Because I
It was only on the bottom of the screen for so long. Follow us on all platforms. It's not
Run that banner.
Follow us on all platforms.
One more time.
RDL Fantasy Pod. Let's bring it back.
There
we go. Yeah.
There
RDL Fantasy Pod on all platforms. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I think Kevin does the TikTok.
Yeah, we got the
Follow
TikTok.
us, guys. We absolutely love engaging with you all. It's been a pleasure doing the podcast. That being said, Week 6 is a wrap. Let's get ready for some good football on Sunday. We'll see you guys next week.
Much love.
If you looking for the truth, then I'm the real deal. If you looking for the truth, then I'm the real deal. Shout out to the crew and they get real. I'm in with the crew, nigga, real deal. You not on the team, boy, you on the bench. You not in my league, how I'm on your neck. Hey, I heard you working out, please don't hurt yourself. My pockets by the flex, your pockets gotta stretch. Okay, don't talk too much and boots go at your chest. I just told Pete to let it go, but he ain't got already set. And I bet he leave him frozen when they hear what Travis said. You ain't